Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sisters Evolving Podcast. I'm Dr. Sari Lerhoff, creator of Evolve Masterclass, and I'm here with
Samantha Lerhoff, founder of Universal Yoga, certified life coach, creator and leader of Universal Yoga teacher trainings.
and today we're tackling one of the biggest relationship hurdles, which are triggers. But in terms of how our attachment styles can determine how the triggers will actually affect us. And so when we talk about attachment styles, we're looking at things like secure attachment, anxious attachment, avoidant attachment. And so if you don't know what you are, not to worry, we're going to like hit a couple of them. I actually will read you a few questions from the quiz on this because it's kind of fun to figure out what we are. For instance, if when your partner is running late or doesn't answer a text right away, and you think, well, how do I usually respond? Do I get upset? Do I say no problem? Because if you're pretty loose and you let things like that roll, you're probably secure in your attachment. You'd be secure attachment. If you feel anxious or overthink that maybe they're losing interest, they're getting ready to leave me, that would definitely fall in the anxious category. If you shut down emotionally or start distancing yourself, that might be avoidant attachment. So, just to give you like a little explanation, but some of us are mixed. Maybe you had one parent that was always available and ready for you. And I always call those the unicorn people who have secure attachment. We don't see a lot of them out there, but they're there. Usually we see either an anxious, avoidant, or a mix of the two. Maybe you learned early in life that you couldn't always count on the person who was taking care of you, right? Maybe, in fact, you were yelled at, told you are too loud, you cry too much, or don't cry, I'll give you something to cry about. And so we can develop these styles, which then, when we're in a future relationship, could be your boss, could be your romantic partners, you could get triggered based on these attachments. So I just wanted to stop here because I'm so curious. We have not talked about this. I want to know what my sister thinks she is.
This is good. I feel like I've evolved, and then, there are different scenarios. One that just occurred actually, which you could tell me, I think it was the anxious one that came up recently. And the funny thing is it all kind of escalated and changed within the same situation and scenario. And of course, I think your session happened after, yes, after the fact. So now that like I'm learning these terms as well, it's interesting because I'm going, wow, I think that's what that is. But you can tell me with the wording. So my husband last week went on his 1 a year work trip in Vegas. And he is one of the most loyal men. I mean, that's like his thing. It's loyalty, loyalty, loyalty. And we'll be married actually, I think about 11 years next month. And never ever had to worry. It's just, which was a big change for me because in the past I've been cheated on, lied to, all those scenarios that come up when I haven't heard from them and all the things. Anyway, his last day in Vegas, I get the text. I just text me when you get home, in the room, at night or whatever. And then I'll get it in the morning and I know you're good. Well, of course, it's a 3 hour difference. And he writes in the text, I'll call you at 6 a.m., just like he's done every other day, which is 9 a.m. my time, 6 a.m. his time for his work meetings. Well, 7 a.m. rolls along, 8 a.m. rolls along, 9 a.m. I go, at first I'm going, you know what, this is good for us. This is the mind, this is what's going on up here. So good for us. This is a long answer to your question. Okay, I go, don't need to be so dependent on each other. He's there. I'm handling everything just fine. Now, within moments later, I start worrying. I start going, shit. what if, God forbid, something happened? I mean, he says he's going to call. He's called every other morning. Now he's not calling. Should I be worried? And then the next 30 to an hour go by. I think this is anxiety, just to answer, right? The question, honey, is this the anxiety thing that comes up? And I have all these horrible feelings because my first love, my first relationship, there's a lot of addiction. He had issues, and I never knew if he was alive the next day, type of thing. And so I've all these triggers happening, right? And I'm going, holy shit, I'm calling the hotel at this point. I don't know what room he is. Can you go knock on his door? I think he has a meeting. Like, who are you? I'm his wife. I'm thinking like, what's that? All anxiety, I guess. Well, meanwhile, of course, then finally, 45 minutes later, and then he's like, oh my God, I overslept. Oh my God, I overslept. And his phones are off. He goes, and they're kicking me out. And I have 5 minutes to pack and get down to the meeting. And I'm so late. And I'm like, all this happening to answer your question. I thought I evolved, but within one scenario, not so much, maybe. Anyway, that was my recent within a week.
Yeah, and that was question number 4.
Did I jump? I
No, it's
love
great.
sharing my
When
stories.
texting my partner, I tend to A, enjoy staying in touch, but don't stress if they don't reply right away. B, feel uneasy if they take too long to respond.
Right amount of time.
C, prefer space and don't always feel the need to text back immediately. I feel maybe you started at C.
And then within, you know,
No, you started with A, then C.
it's like I literally moved and evolved through all of them. It
Ooh, that was
was a whirlwind, let me tell you.
this is the most perfect example of a triggered moment from an attachment style, right? Because we can evolve our attachment styles, but that doesn't mean that if we step on an emotional landmine, we're not going to be pulled back into the old way.
Like I could hear it and I could watch the don't do it, don't go there. But you know what? I went there.
Don't call the hotel, don't do it. But he could be asleep on a casino
Yeah, go the
machine,
hotel.
like a slot machine. I just see it now.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
that's
So
great.
crazy, right?
That's great. But
Yeah.
it's true, right? If you had said to me, what do I think you are? I definitely would have put you as an anxious. But basing it on the earlier years of looking for that reassurance, right? Checking in. And I definitely think I was in my earlier years, like, do you love me? But do you love me now? But how about now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then if like they do give us their love, it's like, what if they fall out of love with me? What if I won't continue to be enough for them, right? And like you go into these thought processes where no matter how much love you get, you're still anxious about it, you
Yeah.
know? And so when we feel triggered in a relationship, if our first reaction is to communicate and seek resolution, that would be a secure attachment versus I go right to panic, feeling overwhelmed by emotions, right? That would be your anxious versus I shut down or become distant, that would be your avoidant. And
Okay.
so,
So it's really the initial,
yeah.
how you respond that you're
So
asking about.
where would you place me?
Me, you? I don't know. Now? So give me the three again.
Secure. I'm not secure, right? Secure attachment, anxious, and avoidant,
Anxious and avoidant.
or anxious or avoidant.
I'd put anxious, maybe.
So I'd probably say I'm a mix between the two. Now, full disclosure, I think I'm more secure than I've ever been. But if I had to check with my last relationship, I'd put me in anxious avoidance. So I can go either for feeling uncomfortable if they're running late, but I can acknowledge when stuff is coming up for me. I often give the example of when I had a relationship where it was a new relationship and he was an hour late and I'm freaking out because I had had experiences of being abandoned in the past, right? Like old wound stuff. And when he finally called, he's like, I got a flat tire. I'm so sorry. My phone died. I'm finally at a 7-Eleven. I got the, and he said, I can make it there, in the next hour, hour and a half, just waiting for the tow truck. And I said, you know what? I know that I'm not okay right now. I'm triggered. And
Mhm.
so I don't want to have to expose you to me while I'm still processing this. And it's not about you. You didn't do anything wrong. This is my old stuff coming back. I want to postpone till tomorrow so that I can get back to neutral. So I
Yeah.
was able to get to that point, but that avoidant part of me that wanted to go for a little distance, right? That wanted to emotionally disengage
Yeah.
because that to me feels safer. I need to escape a situation. And we don't have to look at it as a bad thing necessarily. Like I see these as parts within me where I'm like, okay, I'm also a delayed processor. And so
Yeah.
I know I'm going to need some time
Oh, yeah.
to allow myself to feel those feelings.
I think that's healthy.
Yeah. It's not unhealthy. It can get extreme. So avoidance can also be like, I'm fine.
Oh,
I don't need to talk about that. Or, I'm good. Oh, you're 2 hours late. You know what? Let's cancel. But we should talk about. No, no, I'm good. See ya. We'll catch up next week.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
we can definitely cut ourselves off. We can completely not feel. We can, both anxious and avoidant can do it. But instead of sitting and reflecting on what's going on, we can be like, oh, there's the bag of cookies. Or if alcohol's your thing, you could be like, oh, there's the bottle of wine. And we can turn to these unhealthy ways rather than hitting the healthier side of things. But I love this topic because I think we can all go to that place of shame, or we can acknowledge that this is so common. Being raised by parents who weren't taught this stuff, weren't taught how to emotionally regulate. And even if they did the best they could and they were the most loving, if you had one that was really loving and another one that was distant or inconsistent with their love, or sometimes was there for you, sometimes yelled at you for crying, all of this is very easily developed into these attachment style types. So we don't want to run from them. We can look at
No.
them, but then we can also look at the ways they're showing up in our current relationships.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, wanted to share, actually was very proud of myself after that whole thing had happened. When I'd finally heard from him, I felt the anger and all the heat building up, the activations, right, that you were even discussing in the session. And just watching it from the outside, I go, he wants to make sure like I'm okay. And I can't thank you. You're alive. Very good.
Very good.
Because living is great. I go, and I'm not okay, but I will be. I need a few minutes. Let me call you back. And I also had a client. So I was like, I have to compare myself and be in a space for my client. I go, as soon as I'm done, I will. And he had texted me, so I'm so sorry. The last thing in the world I want you to do is ever worry. And I could feel the sincerity, and still I couldn't really even process it because I had to like hold a space for someone else. And so when my client session was done, and this is interesting, like I had gone back to the tools that we've been discussing in the Evolved Masterclass and the awareness of everything. And so I decided to write him a text and let him know that when this occurred, it brought up all these past triggers for me. And I know that's not you, and I know that's not your intention, but this is how I feel. And I feel like I just need to be validated for that and heard. And it actually worked. Like it was so cool. He had totally responded and was like, I validate you. I'm so sorry. Wouldn't want to do that or ever make you feel that way. And yes, yes, I hear you. And I was like, okay, thank you. That's like, it really was all I needed to move forward. And it was the quickest resolve. I feel like had I done that 20 years ago, no way. I would have been really wanting them to know how I felt, But like no, I feel like the evolving parts of me took it to the next level and quicker. It was like a quicker result. So I had to share that.
It's so good. I love that. And the fact that you can recognize when you're emotionally time traveling,
Yeah.
right? It's like, okay, I have just been taken back to 1983 or wherever it is. It's like that time when they threw out Sparkles, my stuffed animal, and didn't tell me. And I came home and he was gone and I've been abandoned.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we're there and so we're needing that reassurance
Yeah.
and we're not getting it. Now what? And so
Mm.
we can either acknowledge that we're triggered and ask for time, or we can just DEFCON 5 on our partner. And this is where that awareness is huge, right? It's like, can I notice when I'm getting activated? And so one of the things we do in Evolved Masterclass is we make a scale. 0 is I'm calm. 10 is like I'm the most activated or triggered I could be. either throwing things, saying horrible things I can't take back. And where are we in between? So one could be like, all right, I'm still in the calm zone. I'm having a pleasant conversation, sharing my feelings. Two, three could be like, I'm feeling strongly that I want to get my point across. Maybe four, five, I'm leaning forward. My face is getting red. Six, I'm starting to breathe higher up in my chest, right? Seven, I'm getting louder. And that's maybe my cue when I know I've got to stop now. Otherwise, I'm going to end up at eight, the point of no return for me,
Mhm.
right? Maybe eight, I'm yelling or
Yeah.
I'm cursing or, whatever that could look like for each person. And so that's when we abort and say, hey, I need 20 minutes.
Yes.
We step away because that's the study showed 20 to 30 minutes to regulate our nervous system. So we can self-soothe, we can go for a walk, we can splash some cold water on our face, not go eat the entire bag of cookies, but am I breathing? Do I want to put my bare feet in the ground outside for a few minutes? So then I can get back to that place where I can communicate my needs clearly or whatever's coming up for me. Or what's the best light I can see my partner in for this moment? Especially if he's not getting back to you and you can't communicate with him, what's the best scenario? If I'm giving him the best and highest benefit of the doubt,
Yeah.
what could I come up with? Maybe he did fall back to sleep. Maybe they called the meeting earlier and he rushed and he left his phone. And we start reframing the narrative a little bit
Yeah.
because we love our partner and we want to be able to give them that benefit of the doubt. And then if we're in the moment fighting with them, what can I do? If I notice things are getting heated, that scale is going up. Is there a way I can break the tension? Can we just suddenly break it out into song or dance, movie quotes? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
how can we notice like, hey, honey, this is getting a little heated. Like I'm noticing I'm getting a little activated, a little triggered because my
Because
abandonment
I
part.
can't control the volume of my voice.
I cannot control the volume of my voice.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's like, can we then say, you know what? This is hitting my hot button of feeling unseen, unheard, whatever the trigger might be for you. And this is why it's so important to know our triggers. Like, what's your stuff? People not showing up, people being late.
Saying they're going to call at a certain time and they don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause then we ask where were other people, where have they not shown up for us in the past? And like you were saying, if you had a boyfriend who was into some not healthy stuff and wasn't in their right mind to be able to do that, it can then bring forth those feelings of
Yeah.
abandonment, of not feeling seen, not feeling,
Or just
um,
scared, like, God forbid,
yeah,
like, are they even okay? That's what it's like, oh, because I want to think the best.
absolutely. Because that happens, right? People can suddenly maybe not be so safe. And if you've had someone in your past that their actual life was at risk, that could definitely be a trigger, you know? There's nothing wrong with wanting to know someone is alive. But again, if it becomes really anxious, like if the other person can feel smothered, like they've got like an emotionally weighted blanket on them. And, now look what happens when you have an anxious attachment person who's dating an avoidant, because this actually came up last night in class. It could be so different where one person is needing that reassurance and the other person is like, I need independence, leave me alone. And if the other person's just like, I'm fine, like, what do you mean? We just had dinner together. What do you mean you need more time with me? What was that?
Yeah.
And then you're just playing that dance of one person feeling like they're chasing the other one running away and then revalidating the programming that's not so healthy. Okay, well, what if we want to rewire some of these patterns, right? Now, maybe I'm someone who, when I feel disconnected, I push away or I ask for reassurance. Maybe I'm even hard on myself. Like, what can I do to help me get back on track, get back to neutral? So, what are the things that you do to get you back?
Deep breaths,
Hmm.
change the scene, whether it's walk outside just to feel the sun or fresh air. Or
Yeah.
whatever's possible, really, but knowing that it's got to be a change. And I hear your voice. I hear the tools. It'll pop in now. It's like walk away, take a moment, take whatever. And now, actually, the 20 minutes is a new one I've heard recently. So I like that. And I think I'm going to have that now in my mind of, hey, we might need that. It does make sense to me. But just taking a breather, I think is the big one. How about you?
Yeah, and I'll add that 20 minutes has been studied. And so they say 20 to 30 minutes. But for those with anxious attachment, like we want to hear that you're going to be back in 20. It's not like, I can't do this anymore. I'm out. It's, I can't do this right now. I'll be back in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
That's going to be really important for that anxious person.
Yes.
Mhm. And so for me, some of the things that I'll do is I need to move my body. This is such a big one. I swear I can diffuse if I move. Just put me on a treadmill, get me outside walking, going on the little trampoline, just something. What are you picturing?
Yeah.
The rebound of the trampoline.
Uh-huh. Bouncing, she
Yeah.
says.
Yes.
Bouncing,
Bouncing.
bouncing.
Bouncing. We got this trampoline in the basement. We're very excited about it, and it's like a little mini one, but it definitely helps.
I think a
I
video will help.
notice. I like it. It moves the lymph. I take that the self-compassionate pause, right? So it's like, can I validate what I'm feeling, and instead of being like, what's wrong with you, I actually go into the validation of it's okay. Like this is a normal feeling. I am worthy of love, and I can breathe through this. What are the things I can see, right? Five things I can see, five things I can smell, touch. We can go through the senses. This is one I gave everybody last night, which is progressive muscle relaxation. It's called squeeze your calves, relax, squeeze your thighs, relax. And you slowly work your way up the body till you get to like your face and you scrunch it and relax. Then you end with your whole body. I sometimes do it twice. You scrunch everything and then release. And by that point, my whole nervous system feels like it's been reset. Love that.
I'm
You're
relaxed.
very
Just
relaxed. I see the yawn.
I am parasympathetic. Just kicked in.
Mhm. Love it. Some people do that butterfly hug where they'll cross their arms over their chest and then they'll just like tap gently because your body doesn't always know it's you. So you get like that nervous system calming sensation.
That one, but I
Hmm.
love hugging myself.
Yeah.
I like that.
And for the avoidance, the other thing is leaning into connection instead of shutting down, saying I'm safe in vulnerability. That connection is not a trap, right? It's a chance to grow something deeper. It's putting the roots in.
Mhm.
And if we've been hurt in the past from doing that, it's going to be scary and challenging to do that. But we want to like a progressive exposure, right? Start with small moments of that emotional expression or sharing or closeness and gradually increase comfort with intimacy. And I told a story in the bonus class last night about, two people living on either sides of this town or this area, and there was water in between. And one of them started building a bridge and was screaming to across to the other guy, like, hey, put some planks down. We can meet in the middle. And he's like avoidant. He's like, I don't know. I don't like people. I don't know if I like people. What if I don't want to be with anyone? What if she talks all the time? And she's like, ooh, connection, right? Closeness. And she realizes like he's hesitant, so she goes really, really slowly, one plank at a time. She talks to him a little, but then stops talking so he feels safe. And then he realizes, okay, maybe this is not so bad. And he puts a plank down, and little by little, they continue to build this bridge and eventually connect. And I love that story because this is how we can do it in our relationships where attachments are challenging and triggers are always going to be there, waiting. But we can definitely soothe and get closer just by being aware and being willing. Do we dive deep and talk about areas where our upbringing may have contributed to some of the
Oh, I mean, gosh, you do hear people who have the parents who are just like there and fully there. And what was it, the supportive one? What's it called? The
I
first.
think of my friend Sarah growing up, and if she ever listens to this, maybe she'll be like, what are you talking about? It wasn't like that. But whenever I went to her house, like her dad was always there. And, her mom was always there, and they would build like these little houses out of shoe boxes. And the sisters shared a room, and maybe that doesn't seem cool. But to me, like I always felt so safe there.
Yeah.
Like the parents left their bedroom door wide open.
Yeah.
I never felt scared in their house. And in our house, the bedroom was locked. We talked about this in a previous episode. The bedroom door was locked, which again, we respect, busy, surgeon father. But I do remember standing outside their door so many times, being afraid to knock in the middle of the night, like either I was going to throw up because I was sick or some other issue, and knowing that I needed help, but being afraid that I was going to make them angry and really dad angry. And I just think like that could be one of the issues. Again, we totally get he had to sleep, right? My friend said was a camp director, so he was home during the regular year. Only in the summers they were all together gone. But my father couldn't, our father, because he had to do surgery. So we understand his need for sleep and maybe his irritability. If we woke him up and he was only getting 4 hours as it was because of a emergency that he got called into the hospital for. And yet the impact
Mm.
that it had feeling insecure, not always knowing if we were going to get the support we needed in a safe manner.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah. I mean, this really does contribute to all those attachment styles.
Yeah. Yeah. Or if
Mm.
we cried, right? And this is such a common one, how was emotion received in your household?
Get in your room.
We were sent to our room if we cried.
That's how it was with us.
Full disclosure, we get to talk about this with our parents now. They're so amazing and open, and they understand that they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
Nobody taught them. They didn't have courses like what we have at Evolve Masterclass where it's like, hey, emotions are great. Tears release cortisol. Let your kids cry. It's so healthy. None of that was available. And we're so happy because it made us want to come out and teach this stuff and inspire with this stuff.
When my son says to me, Mommy, thank you for holding space while I figured this out, I mean, oh, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm being the difference. Well, it's like a little win, and that's what makes all the difference. I'm doing it differently, and I think that's the evidence, it's working.
Absolutely. I think we do get the validation because we taught them it was safe to share. Why are you laughing?
Just remembering my tantrum in fifth grade. Was it fourth or fifth grade when the one time I remember her trying to work with me on a project on Florida. Remember, we did this when living in New Jersey and I did the state of Florida and I was just having such a tantrum because I think deep down, all I wanted her to do was hold space for me to do the work. But she's doing all the work and I didn't feel like validated. I didn't feel like I could do it. I wasn't good enough. She just wants to get it done. So she's typing and looking onto this, the old school computers or whatever. And I'm flipping out. I'm jumping. I'm getting angry. And I just laughing because I was so outrageously annoyed and I couldn't vocalize what I was feeling. But now I get it. Really, all I wanted was for her to hold space for me to do it and just sit there. Just be there. Ask me some questions. Let me do my homework so I can feel like I can do this, right?
I don't think I know this story, but
We
I
were in
love.
the attic too. I have a vivid memory.
Oh, that's so interesting. And when you think about under each tantrum or trigger is an unmet need, what did we actually need at the time? I just remember bringing math homework to dad and him, he loved to use name calling
Yeah, he did.
to try to emphasize that we should already know how to do that. What are you, an idiot?
Yeah. No offense, Dad. That was not nice.
It was the way, like that's how his dad spoke to him, right? It's so great that we can laugh at it now, but it's so clear where now we might grow to be adults that are scared to ask for help,
Hmm.
that we learn to do things. And this is my avoidance side, which is I'll just do it myself. I
Yeah.
can't count on anyone. And this belief that's in there that it's too much of a hassle to ask for help.
Yeah. It's so hard. Mm.
Yeah, but we're working on it. And
How do you actively work on
well,
it?
first, what's going on, and
Okay.
then you can explore it, right? We go to the evolve method, so we can explore a little bit about what's coming up for us, and then we can validate the emotions that we're feeling, and then observe what is actually true versus what's the story I'm telling myself about it. And the story is that happened. That was one instance. Is it true that all people cannot be counted on? What's true? What's the story I have? And then we can look at it. And where can I seek help or get a different point of view, right? Which is, well, what would happen if I asked 5 people? And life provides that. Right now, we have a team of like Evolve expert coaches where if one person can't do it, I know someone else is going to be able to step up. And so it's almost like giving that validation. And one of the things I offered last night in class is keep a notebook for when you do get the support. Because if someone has the worldview that people cannot be trusted, why be in a relationship or why be in a real relationship? Then we want to start collecting evidence where people are trustworthy.
Right. I love that.
Yeah, it's big, right? So definitely look at it a little bit more closely, honor the emotions, get to the truth of it, then get to the evidence for it. Visualize a different possibility so we can create a different possibility and then evolve, start practicing it, put it into the daily habit, the changes, etc. We can do this. We can move past our attachment styles. Doesn't mean they're not going to ring their heads every now and then, like when your husband goes to Vegas, but
I mean,
when my son was still in bed when I thought he was in the shower. And I may have thrown a name out there and my father spoke through me for a minute. But the difference is I can apologize right away. I'm like,
yeah.
that was my upbringing that just slipped right out there.
And it happens.
We're human
Yeah.
and we are evolving, hence the name of our podcast, right? We're not pretending that we're not still in it, that we're not still going through it. But if I compare myself to 15, 20 years ago, it's night and day. Like
Yeah.
it's not the norm. It's the once in a while. And we've come so far on this
Yeah.
evolving journey.
Yes, we have.
Yes, we have.
Yes, we have.
That's
And
right.
I'm proud of us.
Yes. Yeah. And not just parents, right? Siblings can do this.
Yeah.
Siblings can make us also have these disorders. If they're slamming the door in your face, if they're telling you you're annoying, if they say no every time you ask them for a ride to the mall. Um,
So,
never happened with our older sister. But it's funny, like, where do they learn it from? They learn it from their friends or they learn it from other friends with siblings. And again, it's like nobody means to do this stuff, but we just acknowledge that we develop these points of view about the world around us and then these defense mechanisms so that when we get triggered in some way, we either become extremely anxious or we retreat or we lash out. And we just want to be able to know. I think the big thing with triggers is a lot of the preparation stuff, right? Because if you have the scale and you know your symptoms, that's great. But if there's no space in your life to pause, it's going to be very hard to
oh
see
yeah.
yourself, right? And you could probably speak on ways that you create space in your daily life.
Oh yeah. I have to at this point. Like literally, if I have an appointment or before I go see my kids, I pick them up from school. I take 5 minutes and I do a ritual. I have a ritual for before I teach a class, before I pick the kids up. It's a few deep breaths. It's asking to clear what I've decided I think is about to happen, what it's going to look like when I do my little woo wah. And, but even if it's woo wah, it still works, and I do cancel all the unuseful thoughts of how it's going to be and how it's not going to be. And then I ask to be a space and a channel of ease and love and all that. And then I surprise myself sometimes, but I think it's living very intentionally. And so even if it's just a few moments before each interaction, even before our podcast, I clear everything I've decided, and then I ask, how much fun can we have? So like a clearing and then the question of
I
sorts.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Similarly, I was on the treadmill this morning working on some stuff for an hour and a half before I even did anything else for the day. I knew I needed to move some energy. And then yesterday, my son came home. I finished what I was doing, and then I broke the day and we played soccer in the basement, right? So it's the fun, it's the movement. I mean, it's such a workout. If I tell you, my face is red when we're done. Like we are sprinting across the basement and we're playing and we're laughing and we're pushing each other, and it gets competitive.
I can only imagine, Sarah. You?
Every time he plays, he's like, "This is the day, Mom. This is the day I'm taking you down."
I think I need to see a video of this. You're gonna have to put a video on you.
You can watch it live today. When I think about how that clears the energy of everything that's happened that day so far, it's such a break and it's so much fun. And we laugh so hard, especially when we accidentally score goals for the other person. We laugh so, so hard. But that's the important stuff. And we forget about that stuff, right? That's the stuff that creates space for whatever might show up. And even if I'm getting all stressed, oh, I got to present tonight. Oh, I got to still see patients. I know if I go play a little bit, I'm so much better for whatever comes. This is why people say if you don't have time to meditate, then you need to meditate even more because you're not making the space, and that space will actually make you more productive. more focused, more able to handle whatever shows up. Because one thing we can guarantee,
Yep.
when we wake up in the morning, things are going to show up, right? The unexpected. So, how are we going to handle that?
Yep.
And how much space do we have to handle that?
That's right.
So, that's something I think will really help with triggers and facing what comes up with you and really make it easier on yourself. So, learning your attachment styles, recap, learning your attachment styles, figuring out what are your hot buttons, what are your emotional landmines, what pulls you back into that emotional time machine. What are the instances that gets you really feeling like you're hijacked by a part of you that wants to protect and hurt the other person causing the upset? Being aware, right? And then from there, knowing your scale. When do I get close to my point of no return where I have to say, pause, I need 20, 30, abort, abort. And then how can I create more space so that I can handle the unexpected, the challenging, the trigger moments, the progressive muscle relaxation, the journaling, the bare feet on the grass, the meditating, the basement soccer, the energetic clearings, whatever that is. Bring that into your life because we can handle it. We can handle anything that shows up if we're a little bit more prepared.
Yes. Create the space first.
If you enjoyed this podcast, then continue to check it out. You can go to Evolve Masterclass on YouTube, and you can become a member to hear topics like this every single week. We do a class with a wonderful topic. We do bonus videos. We have worksheets, toolkits, an amazing course site with an Evolve Vault that has so much bonus material. Definitely check that out at evolvemasterclass.com. And we look forward to seeing everybody next week. Bye.
Bye.